expectation and the anticipation is now over. Tottenham were back in action last night, and I'm sure along with me you all sat and watched it. First impressions before we get into the game. Actually quite liked the background noise on the TV. Did add a little bit to it. Didn't make it feel so much more like a training session. So I thought that kind of worked. Didn't really focus too much on the crowd or where the crowd would be, like the stands and stuff. Tottenham made a good effort with the seat covers and stuff like that, and getting the flags out, having the names and the shirts on the season ticket holders' seats that have sadly passed away with COVID, which I thought was a nice touch. Daniel Levy sitting in the stands with his face mask on. Didn't quite have it on though, right, mate? Did ya? Yeah, it's not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be here. It's supposed to be covering your nose and your mouth, son. So just a little bit of information there for you, Daniel boy, because I know you're a fan of my videos. So didn't take too much away from it. As a fan who lives in Dorset, as I said before, don't get to go to every game. Certainly away games, get to go to all the home games, but not all the away games. So I am used to watching some of the games on TV. So, it wasn't a really hugely different situation for me than it is for some of the hardcore guys who get to go to every game, home and away in Europe and everywhere else. So, not such a chore for me, to be fair. The overall experience I didn't think was too bad. I felt it came across pretty well. It's always great to see fans in the stands, going mad and enjoying the game. But it is what it is. So that aside, moving on to the game. This has been one of them games, as I've said. If you watch Chris Cowling's videos, I've been on there a couple of times and we've had a chat about it. And my expectation has remained the same, that you just don't know what you're going to get until it really kicks off. And to be fair, it did feel a little bit like the players didn't really know what it was going to be like, how it was going to go, how they were going to play, what sort of intensity it was going to be, and so on. So I think it was one of them kind of testing each other out. Overall result, I think, is probably a fair one. There were periods in the game where I thought Manchester United played well. I felt they dominated. They kind of pushed us back, and that, now whether that was tactics from Jose, where he wanted to just defend the 1-0 lead or not, I'm not sure. But it did feel that we were sitting very, very deep, certainly in the second half, and that invited them on more and more and more. And when you've got players in your team like Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, who we've all talked about a lot over the summer and January and all that, when you've got players in your team like that, they can always pull out that little bit of magic that's going to make all the difference. Just kind of running through it, Steven Bergwijn's goal, great goal, well taken, the lad. He just drifted past those defenders. Bit fortunate that De Gea had a bit of a mare there, as Roy Keane was livid at half-time, absolutely going mad, which was hysterical. Found that really, really funny. And the one he saved where he said he should have caught it just really, really cracked me up. And the look on Evra's face when he was saying it was comedy gold, to be fair. I think he's a bit fortunate that De Gea let that one in, because you would have put your money on him to save that, to be fair. But, the lad took his chance and you can't knock him for it. I felt overall he had a decent game. He worked quite hard. He had a good intensity about him. I thought he done well. Lamela as well, I thought had a good game. Without actually getting the final ball right, for me that was probably where it's going wrong for him. His intensity and his work rate, I don't think you can call him out for it, because I think he does that all the time. But in terms of his final ball and picking the right ball for the right player at the right time. Just seems to keep getting that wrong. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Sonny full of running, without actually really affecting the game. I think probably the biggest call out in the game really is Harry Kane. Obviously hasn't played since January or something like that. So been out a very, very long time, and I think there is a massive difference between being fit and being match fit for sure. And I'm guessing that's probably why Mourinho kept him on the pitch for the whole match, just so that he could get minutes under his belt. I think Mourinho will be quite happy with a 1-1. I think he'll be happy with a draw, to be fair, because it shows a little bit of progress. Whilst he'll want to win, I think he'll look at the overall period and getting the team fit and ready going forward. I do think it was a strange decision not to use all of the substitutes that you've got available to you. That kind of, to me, seemed a bit pointless. I.e., the point of having the additional subs is to make sure you can keep people fit and not overdo it with them, which has always been the call out with Harry Kane. That we run him into the ground, and we do. So it seemed a bit strange not to use all of the subs that were available where you could. Especially for me, I felt the game was calling out for Ndombele. I said before the game that I really do have faith in that kid. I think he's a really good player. He looks leaner and fitter now, and with the work that Jose undoubtedly has done with him over this period, you would think that he would be one of the guys that would get a run out in the game, more so than maybe Fernandes, who I wasn't sure why he kind of brought him in. Winks, I felt had a poor game. I didn't think he did particularly well. I thought he was off the pace and running around with very little impact at all. A couple of good tackles in there, yeah, but overall I didn't think his forward play was enough to influence where we were going to get us forward quick enough. And I know that's not necessarily his game, but then he has got Sissoko with him, who I did feel had a good game. I thought he made a couple of really good interceptions, and clearly his work rate has not been diminished by this time off. He still likes to get involved wherever he can. Davison Sanchez, I felt, played okay. Thought he had there was a couple of opportunities where he really did step in at the right time and make a real difference. I'm sure that Eric Dyer will get a lot of flack. I'm sure he will, because that's what happens. But overall, I thought he did okay. I thought he did okay in that position. He was commanding. He was strong. He made some good tackles and so on. And I think in the game today, as soon as you get into that penalty area, the forward players are always going to look to drop, and the minimalist of contact is going to lead to a free kick or penalties. And I think he just got mugged a little bit. I think Pogba with his quick feet and that, managed to get past him, and I think you could see that Pogba had his arms up, sort of pushing against Dyer, and as soon as you react in that way and kind of push his arm away and leaning into him, you're gonna see him drop. As they said in commentary, Manchester United have had a really big amount of penalties given to them this season. And that's, no surprise, is it? When Pogba can go down like that. But, and again, we saw with the one that wasn't given, which I think is absolutely scandalous, that Fernandes didn't get booked for that. He was basically running into him, and then he turned his back and fell over. You could clearly see from the replay that Dyer did nothing, didn't touch him at all when he went down like a sack of shit, and basically mugged the referee off, because the ref was bang on. I'm having a penalty for that. Luckily for us, VAR did save us this time. So, kudos to that on that day. But it's not. I'm still not a fan of it. But it did save us yesterday. But overall, I thought that Dyer had a decent game. I think most defenders, Toby or Jan, even those guys would have probably got caught out like that. But going back to Harry Kane, I think the real difficulty for him was that he wasn't getting any service at all, and so as the game went on, he dropped further and further back into the midfield, and that's not where you want Harry Kane. He can put out some great passes. Yeah, he can send the ball and set other players up, but ideally you don't want him there. You want him at the front, leading. You want the other players stepping up and getting the ball to him in those advanced areas so that he can take it on and do something special with it. So, and that's for me why I felt that Ndombele should have been in there somewhere along the line. Winks and Sissoko a little bit defensive. Once he brought in Lo Celso, for me that would have been the time to have brought Ndombele in as well. I would have thought that would have been a good pairing. We know what Ndombele can do in a short period of time. So I'm not saying that he should have been in the whole match, because we don't know whether he's over all of his fitness issues. But he certainly, in my view, should have made part of the game. And I just don't get why you wouldn't do that. But then I don't get paid £15 million a year, so I guess it's not really for me to say, is it? But overall, I thought 1-1, fair result. I felt United played fairly well without really threatening us too much. I felt we did okay. I felt we sucked up a lot of pressure and defended as a unit. For long periods. After their goal, we did come back to life again, which then kind of made me think, well, was Mourinho playing the let's shut up shop? We've got a goal, let's shut up shop, which he's done so often in the past. But I'm still not convinced that Tottenham is a team that can do that, and I don't know whether we'll ever be a team that can do that, to be honest with you, because it just doesn't feel like it's in our DNA. So unless he's going to buy a different sort of player, I just don't see it, and it always looked like we needed a second goal to see the game out. So disappointed, yeah, because obviously we want the 3 points, because every point is important now. But it's not a loss. There are still other teams to play, other teams that can go in our favour. We have to wait and see how that pans out. But to be fair, I think if the season ended before the lockdown and we were sat in 8th, then I think that was a fair result considering what our performances have been like. This has given us a second bite of the cherry to see if we can get any further forward. But I think I've said, if we get to 5th, that would be an achievement, given the circumstances of the injuries and the performances we've been putting in. So, I kind of looking at these next sort of this period as a let's see what we get out of it. If we get to 5th or 4th or anything like that, then that's a massive achievement. If we don't, hey, that's because we've had such a really poor season. And then we look forward to next season and we see what happens next season, and we take this period as an opportunity to plan, prepare, get fit, ready for the challenges that come next season, and let's see what next season brings. If we do get into a Europa League place, for me, I still think that the Europa League is a competition. It brings silverware, and that's why I'm a fan, because I want to see us win silverware. I don't care whether it's the Carling Cup, the FA Cup, the Europa League, the Champions League, the Premier League. I just want success. I want those days out where you can pick up a bit of silverware at the end of it and shut them mugs up down the road a little bit, because it's gone on for so long that we really just need that last push, and we've been so close over the last sort of 4 or 5 years of really becoming a top team. Mr. Levy, whether he's going to splash the cash and take us to the next level, I doubt. But I mean, we've got all the makings. It's just where we go from here. So, let's not look down. Let's look up. Let's see where we end up, and hopefully it'll be a decent position at the end of the year. But if it's not, what we're going to do? We're still going to turn up. We're still going to watch our team. We're still going to cheer them on. And we're still going to hope that we can go that step further. It's always the hope that kills you, right? So, we keep the faith. We keep pushing on. And at the end of the day, up the Spurs.